the teaching of reading. So we know that the comprehension is the essence of reading. So if you are attacking a reading material and you're so fast at it and you can pronounce all the words and you know all the word and you can pronounce the words, well, just pronounce the words and you're able to finish all of it, but at the end of the selection, you did not understand it. So that means you were not reading at all. You were just attacking the material. You were just barking at print. You're just sounding off the words there. So sounding off is not reading. It is pronouncing, all right? But if you were pronouncing it and barking at print, and at the same time, you understood what you were saying or you were reading aloud, then that's the essence. Comprehension is taking place. Now, the reconstruction of the intended, comprehension is the reconstruction of the intended meaning of a communication, meaning our students are able to understand the text and the author of the text, because I already discussed that there are three perspectives of comprehension. The reader understanding the text based on his experiences, put into the fore while reading the selection, while also a text perspective that we are able to understand the text itself and whatever information is there by, understand, especially for informational text, and then getting and be able to communicate with the writer, that's the author's perspective, be able to communicate with the writer and what could be the author's purpose in writing the selection and what he wants me to take away. So those are the things that we need to teach our students. And then go back again to my webinar on teaching narrative text. I already have an explanation on this. Next would be, it is a process in which the learner constructs meaning. Therefore, if it's a process, it is like any skill, process or skill, we need to help our students go through steps, okay, and actually comprehending, all right? So when we teach our students, say, how to cook adobo, then we give them steps like before cooking. First, prepare the ingredients. So that's similar to teaching comprehending narrative text and teaching comprehending informational text. What are the things they need to prepare before actually reading the selection? Before reading, and then actual reading, what do you actually do? What are the things that you're supposed to mix together and be able to understand fully the selection? And then afterwards, what happens? Do we need to translate? Do we need to further deepen our understanding of the selection? What are those things that we need to do? All right, so that's what we need to teach our students. And we do not assume that by giving our selections, by giving our students the selections, they would individually be able to attack it. These are skills, and skills, like any other sets of skills, should be taught explicitly. All right, I'm not anymore that. Just go back. This is from my previous webinars. So let's proceed to the third discussion. We have what strategies best teach students to comprehend information text. So we're now going through the step-by-step process. So let us begin with before reading. So this is based on my experience and how I taught my reading students, not just to be readers or critical readers, but also how they can teach their students to become readers in comprehending informational text. So the first thing that we need to teach our students is to teach students deductive and inductive thinking, meaning before reading, we need to prepare our students' brain of the information they need to attack in the selection. So the deductive means students are able to see the general information, and from that, they're able to look at the details that it's connected to, be able to understand the details. So because they know the bigger picture, they will not be able to understand the details being given out. Let's say, in a book, the title of the book is the general information, a general topic, and all of the details inside the book would be anchored on the topic. So that's deductively ready. So by helping our students look at those details, general details, our students will be able to understand certain specific information that is embedded in the reading material. So how do we do that? I could say that some of the things I would teach my students would be on the word level or the vocabulary level. Just a moment. Thank you very much. All right. So what teachers can do is that to read you need to read the material in advance, okay? By reading in advance, we need to extract content words from the selection and present that to our students. So example, I will write the selection that we're going to use later on our workshop would be this. So I will give my students, you provide your students with these words, these content words, and I would say physical anthropology, linguistic, ethnography, uh, cultural anthropology, archaeology, historical, paleontology, anthropology, comparative neontology. So what I want my students to do is on their own, okay, on their own, I would like them, so probably in small groups, I would like them to arrange these groups from the most general topic to the most specific using a graphic organizer. All right, so probably give them 5 to 10 minutes to think about. I'm not giving them vocabulary instruction per se. What I'm trying to do here is to help my students prepare their brain. Okay, go back again to my topic yesterday on memory skills. I'm helping them focus on information they need to attend to during the reading process. All right. What teachers are doing out there is some teachers are doing out there is that they just provide, they do teach, prepare students to do deductive inductive thinking skills, but they use words that are not connected to the reading selection. So we need to have integrity of text integrity in all the activities before, during, and after activities that we request our students or we make our students accomplish in the lesson. All right. So say done with the collaborative activity where they're able to organize it. So I could now ask them to check whether they're right with the information by looking at this. All right. So guys, we can with the teacher comes in to provide students with scaffold, but remember, allow them first to let their brains think, okay, think deductively and inductively. All right, so anthropology and so on and so forth. So you may present this now, how the words can be organized using a graphic organizer. All right, so once you have presented this, you are now giving your students a way of checking their own pre-reading comprehension, okay? And it facilitates a general understanding, uh, a general activity to help students modify their assumptions of what they're supposed to read. And but thereby by giving this to the students before reading, you are now helping students see a whole bigger picture of what they will be reading. They will not be shocked na ano ba itong binabasa ko, wala man lang preliminary. Okay, so ito mapapakita mo na sa mga bata. So these are the things. So I will be able now to focus on the details. All right. So what I'm suggesting here is that teachers, when you prepare your materials, you need to have a graphic organizer that somehow gives the student a general picture of the lesson, okay? A general picture of the lesson and how this information are connected to each other. Okay, which one is a bigger topic and which are those details. All right. So next step is teach students to distinguish fact from opinion. We need to help our students see which of those information are information based and which of those are the opinions of the author. A good example would be, say, number one, anthropology is the study of human beings and their ancestors through time and space and in relation to physical character, environmental and social relations, and culture. And then we have another statement, anthropology is considered to be one, sorry, should be, to be one of the most interesting of all disciplines since it deals with human beings, their origin, environment, society, and culture, and relations and interactions. And then number three, anthropology has four major subfields that emerged in the 20th century: physical anthropology, archaeology, linguistics, and cultural anthropology. Therefore, you will now ask students which of these three sentences, are factually stated and which of those are opinionated, okay, or opinion-based statements. So yes, students now will be able to identify that statement one and statement two are factual information, and basically that could be the information they will be reading. Well, number two would be an opinion which they can form or the author formed um, deduce probably later on after reading that they can, counter after reading. So for a higher applied level of understanding. So by doing this, again, it's text. There is still text integrity. The statements that we come up with for opinion and facts still based on the selection they will be reading. Okay, so we have to maintain text integrity. Okay. Next would be prepare students to read through the text. Now, helping our students to read through the text by using the art of questioning. I will not be, again, giving a lot of details on the art of questioning. There will be another training on the art of questioning, but I already formulated some of the following questions, okay? So what is anthropology? What are the subfields of anthropology? What is the purpose of the author in writing the selection? And do I understand how the author present the facts and information? If you look at the questions that I have here, it starts from factual leading to opinionated. All right. So what is anthropology? Text-based, perhaps information-based. What are the subfields of anthropology? Text-based and information-based. Still, what is the purpose of the author in writing the selection? It could be, it's now interactive reading where students, based on the information provided by the text, via discussion, students will now be able to go beyond the text, okay, or read between the lines and understand why is the author trying to tell me this information. And then finally, that should be number 4. Number 3, do I understand how the author is now looking back, helping our students reflect on, going back into my topic yesterday on memory skills, helping our students reflect and evaluate how they comprehend the selection and whether the strategies they used in attacking the selection was effective in a way that it helps them fully understand the selection. All right. So how I formulated the questions, we had called this questioning the author. We have a text-based or literal questions. We have interpretive questions, and we have applied questions. That would be on a separate training. So this one are the questions that I provide you with, of course, following the principles of the art of questioning. So questions help our students prepare through text. They don't have to answer the questions here, but this will be your guide questions, will be guide questions for the students as basis, as purpose in looking at what attacking the selection. Okay, they'll be looking for the answers to these questions, purposive reading. And then sorry, and then before reading, we now proceed to, those are the dogs, I'm sorry. That's one of the problems with online training and on webinars. Dogs are barking, so it's in other room. All right, during reading, so we have now prepared our students before reading via helping them prepare their thinking skills. That's deductive and inductive. Now, it could be not just question, word level, it could also be sentence level. And then we proceed to steps which be basically helping our students grow through the selection via questions. And then we also help our students distinguish fact from opinion. There are many strategies that we can have on before reading, but I will add more strategies on that tonight when I discuss teaching comprehension across the subject areas. But this is mostly the basic strategies that somehow would help our students effectively in attacking informational selections. Now, first thing that we need to help our students during reading is prepare students to comprehend the text by understanding rhetorical patterns. Let them skim and scan for words or transition devices that would provide a gleam of how the information in the material organized. So do not let the students read verbatim the selection. Let them skim and scan, not scam, sorry, skim and scan. That will be for most of the politicians. And probably that's why some of our politicians are who they are right now, because some of our reading teachers probably taught them scheming and scamming instead of scheming and scanning. Well, that was a joke. Okay, it's a joke. I'm the one smiling and laughing here, but you guys are probably like, what? What the heck was that? All right. So again, Let the students skim and scan for transition devices that would help our students, get a glimpse of how the information was organized in the selection or in the reading material. So these are the things that we need to help our students look for. These are the devices. Generally, we have 5 basic rhetorical patterns. We have enumeration descriptions, and these are some of the transition devices or discourse markers that students can skim and scan for in order to see how the information was organized. Say they skim and scan for the selection, and they saw the following words or similar words to begin with, first, secondly, next, then finally. For instance, in fact, they now have an idea that the information was organized in an information description organization or pattern. All right. Next would be time sequence. Let the students skim and scan for words like or similar words like on, then with a date like on May blank 1941, or not long after, and now, as, before, after, with, when. You know that especially these are words that are mostly occurring in history books. All right. So you know that the information was organized in a time sequence. The difference between there's a similarity somehow between the transition devices used in enumeration description and time sequence. The difference is that in the time sequence, there's a particular order of sequence. That's why it's called time sequence. All right. So there's a particular order. One leads to the other. While enumeration description, the first may not necessarily the actual first, and the second may not be the actual second. One does not influence the other, or the information in the first, stated in the first, may not influence the information stated in the second. Like when you are describing something, say, I'm describing how I see someone as beautiful, the nose, the ears. I can say my description about the nose and my description of the ears would mean that the nose and the ears would have the ears would have a higher, would be more important than the nose. I think everything has an equal stance in the selection. Now, if students are able to skim and scan for words like however, but, as well as, on the other hand, not only, but, and so, and others, then then your students will now be able to understand that the information is organized in comparison and contrast text pattern. Also, if students are able to scan for words like problem, need, challenge, issue, resolve, plan, then there's a high possibility that the author used problem solution text organization. And another one, the last one is, words students scan for since, therefore, possibly, as a result, nevertheless, and other words similar to this. It could be cause-effect relationship. So we need to teach our students that even if there's no one text that has only one type of text organization, the authors may combine this text organization, especially in the development of different paragraphs. But what we need our students to look at, since they're skimming and scanning, is to look at the general text organization, because the author may use problem solution. Let's say the author will enumerate the problems, and then enumerate and describe the problems, and then enumerate and describe the solutions. So the author generally have a problem solution text organization, but the sub text organization to present each of those elements would be enumeration description. So we have, by skimming and scanning, we help our students see the general pattern, how the information was organized, not just by paragraph or by sentence, right? Let's have an example. Let's look at this passage. I already highlighted to you the words and another, even, then. By scanning all of these words, so again, teachers, when you develop your modules, your online material, you need to highlight these words to explicitly help students scheme and scan for text organization or how the information was organized to facilitate the way students will process the information. Hindi pwede, sorry to shift to Filipino, na ang selection po ay problem solution, pero ang pagkakaintindi ng bata, ang kanyang ginamit na pag-atake sa teksto ay time sequence. Hindi magkakaroon ng tamang angkop na pagpoproseso. Right? If the text was in a problem solution, text organization, the brain must process it in that perspective, in that organization. It cannot be cause effect. Otherwise, there will be miscomprehension. All right? So I hope you got the point there, why it is important for our students to skim and scan for text organization, especially for devices. Now, you cannot assume that your students will automatically be able to apply this. We have to prepare our materials in such a way that it facilitates our students to practice, okay, to apply skimming and scanning to get the general text organization of information. By highlighting the devices used in selection, it helps our students scan and skim and scan for the text organism, words, transition devices. All right? So with this, huwag mo nang pabasa sa mga bata. Okay, pwede mong stop. Okay. Questions would be, activity would be, okay, look at the highlighted words, the initial words, highlighted initial words of each paragraph or each sentence. Which of the following text organization what text organization, how was the information in the selection organized based on these devices or transition devices? So we are able to facilitate our students. So this is enumeration description. So I'm supposed to understand this, and my mindset in attacking and comprehensive selection is in the enumeration description, meaning I'll be looking at how the descriptions were enumerated, or I will be basically understanding the list of descriptions. So, huwag mo na pabasahin lahat. So after they're able to look at the general gist by skimming and scanning, now let the students locate the topic sentence in order to extract the topic and main idea of the selection. So there should be another training on this. Especially tonight, will be on looking at how to the different types of locating the topic sentence. But what we want our students to understand is that the topic sentence may be found in the beginning, middle, or end, or it could be a gist. But it has to be step by step. Like we need to explicitly teach our students to identify the topic sentence found at the beginning of the paragraph, and then the middle of the paragraph, and end of the paragraph, or both beginning or end, or a gist. Not explicitly mentioned, but it is a gist. My point here is that it has to be taught explicitly. All right, so you have to prepare the materials for specific teaching of locating topic sentence at the beginning of passages or paragraphs, and then another training on helping students to locate the topic sentence that are found in the middle of the selections, and then another training on helping students to locate topic sentences that are found at the end, and then eventually beginning and end, and eventually gist. All right, so attack it one at a time. Do not assume that your students will be able to locate all of this without you guys teaching where these topic sentences are located. Why? Now the question would be, why is it important for us to teach our students to locate the topic sentence? Because the topic sentence is a combination of the topic of the selection plus the main idea or the author's thesis or opinion of the topic. Okay, so if students are able to locate the topic sentence, it is again the most important information that they will get, because the supporting details that they will be reading are all connected to this topic sentence. If they fail to locate the topic sentence, they will be reading, and then while they are reading, it will not make a general sense to them. It will not make, there's no cohesive idea that connects all the details that they are reading. If we help our students locate the topic sentence, all the details will now make sense. Supporting details. All right. So how do we do that? So let's go back to the selection that we used a while ago. Okay. So we can identify our students You can you can probably underline, okay? You can underline the topic sentence. Animals then can be a means of therapy for many kinds of individuals. So you can ask students, so what do you think is the topic? What is the selection all about? Oh, it's all about animals. And it says here can be means of therapy for many kinds of individuals. I think the question is what type of animals, right? Okay. And then what do you think is the author trying to tell us? What is the main idea of the selection? The author's main idea, or what the author is trying to tell us, is that these animals can be a means of therapy for many kinds of individuals. Therefore, when students are able to, once teachers are able to facilitate students and locating the topic sentence, students now will understand, oh, all the things that I will be reading in detail in the selection will be based on the idea that pets or animals can be a means of therapy for many kinds of individuals. Therefore, it could be a list of descriptions of how beneficial or therapeutical owning pets to some certain individuals, right? Okay, so guided na ang bata. Hindi yung pinabasa mo siya, tapos ang bata, ano ba talaga dapat basahin ko dito? Hindi ko siya maintindihan. All right? So we're just wasting a lot of time if we just let our students read selections on their own. And then at the end of the reading activity, you found out that your students did not actually understand what they attacked. And then you get frustrated. Then whose fault was that? It wasn't the fault of your student. The fault of the reading or the teachers themselves. Why? Because we did not facilitate the actual process of helping students comprehend the selection step by step. Remember, comprehending is a skill and a process. Hence, we have to organize our material in such a way it is step by step, guiding our students to actually understand the selection. All right. Once we're done with that, we're now ready to go to the next step, which is helping our students note supporting details. Now, all the supporting details provided in the selection, the detailed reading, that's what we call now as reading the details of the selection. We now actually embark on looking at the details in the selection, but this time we will be assured that our students will, while they read the details, supporting details, these supporting details will not make sense to them because they already have a general gist of the selection, plus they already know what's the topic all about and what the author is trying to tell them, right? So let's go back to the selection, all right? So noting for supporting details. Now, remember that we asked our students initially during reading to skim and scan for supporting details. So these supporting details now would give us the idea that this course markers or these transition devices provide us with supporting details. So a study could be one supporting detail, another study could be another supporting detail, even emotionally is another supporting detail. We cannot say, students know now that the last sentence, animals then, means that this is not a supporting detail, because in the second step during reading is that we facilitated the location of the topic sentence. Automatically, the last sentence will be out of the question for students to process. All right. So now that this is the selection, we now help our students extract. So we have supporting detail 1, supporting detail number 2, and supporting detail number 3. What's amazing about online with online reading materials is that you can create materials like this. It can facilitate comprehension. So knowing that the students now are focusing on the supporting details, you say, so owning a pet can change the heart. So I changed the color so that students would see that these are supporting details, and I numbered it like this. Okay, detail number 1, supporting detail number 1, and then we have supporting detail number 2, and then supporting detail number 3. All right. Now in modules, what you can do is that you can number your paragraphs or your sentences. All right, paragraph your sentences, and then you can now say that look at sentences or paragraph blank blank blank, and so that they will now be able to focus to the supporting details. All other information is not necessary. Okay. Now, once they're able to locate the topic sentence and to locate the, so you ask your students to skim and scan for transition devices during reading. We're talking about during skim and scan for transition devices to get an idea of how the information is organized through text pattern used in the selection. You know, ask students to locate where the topic sentence is, again, where beginning and middle and or beginning and end or gist. But once they identified that, they know now that this part of the selection should not be used for detailed reading. And then the third one is now the detailed reading, where you ask your students to identify and locate supporting details. You go back again to step one, which is they already skim and scan for the transition devices. By looking at the transition devices, they will now be able to, one way or the other, find out the supporting details. So after we're now ready for after reading. That means we have facilitated getting the information from the, helping our students get the most important, most essential important information, the selection for them to process. So after reading, we now facilitate further processing of the information by helping them extract the top 3 levels of information. So I can ask my students now too. So this is what we call a graphical presentation. So you usually have activity sheets for the selection. So I will ask my students to say, so the topic of selection is all about pet animals. So you will now know that it's not just any animals, but pet animals or just pets per se. And main idea can be a means of therapy for many kinds of individuals. And then we can now enumerate the 3 supporting details. How did prison inmate become a more caring person? Senior citizens become more interested in life. Emotionally disturbed children smile and react with interest. So just teach them parallelism though, all right? In extracting supporting details. This is what we call as, I call this as cue cards, a cue cards technique for our students. So via this, it will help our students now see the organization of the most important information. And this, our students basically have attacked the information, extracted the information from the selection, and now they're ready to talk about whether they agree with the author or not. So it's futile to ask our students to brainstorm about the information in the selection if they were not helped to actually extract the information from selection. All right, it's not assumed. It has to be guided. It has to be explicitly taught to the students step by step. Now, another strategy or technique that we can help our students in extracting the top 3 levels of information, sorry for that, is asking our students to graphically represent the top 3 levels of information via, say, a graphic organizer. So I would say benefits of owning pets. So you have 3. There you go. Once they're able to represent their, I could have groups. Okay, I can group my students that this group of students will extract the top 3 levels of information. That's the topic, main idea, supporting details from the selection using my cue cards. And this group of students will extract the top 3 levels of information using the graphic organizers. And while the third group will be using the outlining, you know, it's still a graphic organizer, but through an outline form. And then the other one, I can ask my students to do extract the extract the top 3 levels of information via a summary like this. So summary would be owning pets have several benefits to different people, like changing. Okay. Now here is helping students to facilitate the making of the summary of the selection using the top 3 levels of information, which the formula is topic plus main idea plus supporting details. So you need to teach those. Remember, going back again, if you want to use cue cards as a technique in extracting the information from the selection read, you have to teach them how it's done, all right? So topic, main idea, supporting details. So these are your guides. And then eventually you have another technique, graphical representation using webbing, all right? Graphic organizer. So you have to teach them how webs are done, or a flow chart perhaps. So whatever graphic organizer you'll be asking students to do, you must explicitly teach them how it's done. Do not assume, okay, represent, extract the topic sentence by using graphic organizers. Don't just say graphic organizers. Explicitly tell them what graphic organizer they're going to use and how it is used and it's done. All right? We do not assume. Sabi na, mga batang hina-hina naman, di marunong magawa ng outline. The question is, did you teach them how to make an outline? You get frustrated. Most of our teachers gets frustrated because we assume so much. We assume that our students know already. They are not fountains of information, fountains of knowledge. Comprehending is a skill, it's a process, and that's why teachers are there. We, as teachers, are there to help them and facilitate the acquisition of these skills. All right, so let's have another one, the summary. So you need to teach students to make a summary, the topic, meaning, supporting details. So tuturuan mo mga bata, ha? So say this is the summary. Owning pets have several benefits to different people, like changing a hardened person inmate into a more caring person, making senior citizens become more interested in life, and making that should be making parallelism kasi changing, making emotionally disturbed children smile and react with interest. So via this, we can identify that this is the topic, and we have here the main idea, and then we have the three supporting details. All right, you have facilitated your students, and therefore, when you ask students to, say, a certain group of your students will make a summary, dapat tinuruan mo muna silang gumawa ng summary. So siguro this week muna would be you using the cue cards. When students already have mastered using the cue cards, then we now proceed to the next week by making graphic organizer. All right, and then the next week will be now making a summary, and then on the fourth week you can now combine together, asking students to group themselves, and then one group will be using the cue cards, the other one will be using the graphic organizer, and the other one making a summary, the other one making an outline. Okay. Nonetheless, you cannot ask students to do something that you did not teach them to do. And then probably in the fifth day, what you can ask is, okay, individually extract the top 3 levels of information, choose whichever strategy is effective for you. You can make a summary, you can make a topic outline, and so on and so forth. So you now help, because you have taught them the different techniques, you're now allowing students to use which of those techniques works well for them in understanding the solution. Now, once they are done with this, you now move on to other skills like predictive outcomes, evaluative thinking skills, like do you agree with the author in when he said, and so on and so forth. All right, asking students' opinion should be based on were they successful in extracting the information, because all opinions not based on the information in the selection are all acceptable. But if the opinions that we are asking for our students to generate, like yesterday I discussed on generation, if we're asking our students to generate answers given questions that we provided them, it must be based on the facts provided in the informational text. That's why, for heaven's sake, it's called informational text. And the opinions of our students must be based whether they agree with the information presented in the text or they don't agree with the information selection. So it is, again, there is text integrity. Okay, I'm not sure if I have enough time. It's already 11 o'clock, so let's have a mini workshop. Okay, so I think I'm almost supposed to end at 11:30, but I think I'm on time. Good thing that I made this more of a process. Okay, so let's now apply learning. So I can now ask you, okay, guys, what I would like you to do is look at these words. Okay, let's read the words: physical anthropology, linguistics, ethnology, cultural anthropology, archaeology, historical ethnography, paleontology, anthropology, neontology, and we have and comparative. What I want you to do now, I have to go for individual perhaps. What I would like you to do now out there is for you to organize these words using a flow chart. Okay, I taught you yesterday how to make a flow chart. Now, using a flow chart, I would like you to organize this information from the most the biggest idea to the smallest idea. All right, I'll be giving you 5 minutes and so on and so forth. Okay, once done, so you'll wait for 5 minutes perhaps, and then you now present the one that we presented a while ago. Okay. So anthropology has 4 identified branches. You have the physical anthropology, linguistics, archaeology, and cultural anthropology. And its subdivision, the subdivisions of physical anthropology are neontology, paleontology, and subdivisions of linguistics, historical, comparative, and so on and so forth. Now, by doing this by graphic organizers, you help your students actually elaborate information, and they're able to explain just content words. Look at these are just content words, but it does make sense to them. So it somehow helped them prepare their mind. Again, remember our discussion yesterday of our information of the memory skills. We have retrieval and elaboration. This would help our students retrieve information easily and at the same time be able to elaborate and generate information. Okay, and there's interleaving because they're able to focus on the most important information. Okay, okay. Then now I will now ask students to look at the statement. So distinguish fact from opinion. Same, still on the selection on about topology. All right, and then I will have questions which I already I presented to you a while ago. And then I will now ask my students to look at the information. Okay, look at the information here. So this is, I actually made it the purpose that the paragraphs are identified in terms of what it says. Okay, so paragraph number 1 introduces the purpose of the selection. Second paragraph defines physical anthropology and its sub-branches and defines archaeology. Second paragraph defines physical anthropology and its sub-branches. And then the third paragraph defines archaeology as a branch of anthropology. The fourth paragraph defines linguistics and its sub-branches. And then we have defines on the fifth paragraph is defines cultural anthropology. By doing this, giving them a general gist of how the paragraph, my example a while ago was just a passage. This is what we call as a multi-paragraph text selection, which basically are common to lots of reading selections for intermediate level and for high school level. In high school, there are even more paragraphs than this. So we need to, if that's the case, then we need to facilitate to help our students get the general gist of each paragraph, okay, before embarking on embarking on details, looking for details. Now look at the words defines. So now students will now, by doing this, our students are now have a bigger idea that the rhetorical pattern or the text, the information in the selection is organized in a enumeration description pattern or text organization. So there will be attacking now. You have prepared your students to actually understand the selection in an enumeration description perspective. Okay? Once you have so ito po yung sinasabi ko, ang materials po natin dapat nakatulong sa pag-develop ng skills on comprehending information text. Usually, ang ginagawa po natin sa field ay just the selection. The selection was not organized, was not developed in such a way that it facilitates that. Okay? Of course, we have references. And then I will now ask my students to go back to the graphic organizer after reading, or while reading, I will ask them, okay, these are your activity sheets. While reading, I would like you to accomplish this graphic organizer. Well, your goal is for them to extract the top 3 levels of information. Okay? So, and then another one would be another activity sheet is then for them to extract the topic using cue cards, topic, main ideas, supporting details. And then I will ask them to summarize using this. But this time again, I will have a blank sheet still for them to be able to make a summary, but with the formula topic plus main idea plus supporting details. All right. So at this point, I would like to, probably I was so picked with my explaining of the concepts, but I focus more on the skills than of just teaching you what is comprehending informational text. So all other information will be discussed specifically, say, how about science, about mathematics, about subject area. I just taught you the basic skills of teaching students comprehending informational text. This evening, when I talk about teaching comprehension across subject areas, I will now teach you how to help students comprehend informational text specifically for science, mathematics, and other subject areas. But this is the basic. Now, at this point, it's already 11:13 or almost 11:15 in my watch. So I'm now ready to entertain questions and queries and clarifications from you guys out there. Okay, So, who's my moderator, Mitch?
Me po. Yan. Here po. Your first question po is from Miss Ford Celeste Dumas. How about those who like to read while the music is on?
Mm. I already have a session of it yesterday on on developing memory skills. Yes, that is again I've discussed is anything that would facilitate the understanding of any mental activity. It could be reading. Yesterday I talked about the mental skills and techniques and strategies in helping the brain get information, how the brain processes information in any activity they're doing. So this time I'm situating it on reading informational text. Now, on that premise, your question is if our students are able to um, comprehend well informational text using through listening to music, then so be it. Nonetheless, even if there's music as a background to facilitate a focusing or attending to information, your material, your reading material must be organized to facilitate comprehension before, during, and after. Hindi pwedeng may questions ka lang before, tapos papabasahin mo ng buo, then answering the questions afterwards. Hindi pwede. Hindi pwedeng ganun lang. Dapat guided talaga siya, step by step. Unless, of course, by the time that they're already in the latter stages of the junior high school and in senior high school, that you assume that your students already are sophisticated comprehenders of informational text across subject areas, then probably you can now just assume that they know the process. So you just have before questions, then selection, then after activity. You can do that. But again, we are here. Our topic is teaching, comprehending informational text. Therefore, the teaching means explicit step-by-step teaching of how the skills are actually used in the phases of reading any informational text. So listening to music would help students focus information, but the material, how we develop it, would be another thing. So I would say perhaps it will lend help, but your materials develop in such a way, the way I have discussed it, in such a way to facilitate the acquisition and application of comprehension skills of attacking informational text would be best approach to teaching our students comprehension. Thank you.
Thank you very much. For next question from Miss Dina Tesorio. Can you give us some techniques to improve my pupils' listening ability?
Listening abilities. I would like to answer that again, but I already had a session on it during July, so you may want to review my webinar on 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 independent learning of English. I focus on listening there, so you may want to have a strategy in there. So just to give you, I don't want to leave you without any answer to your question. So strategies you can help your students to do is that you can have, always remember that there will be pre-listening activity, during listening activity, and after listening activity. So similar to reading activity, you will have to prepare students. If they're listening to, say, a listening text that is informational or a narrative, so you need to prepare their minds that I'm supposed to be reading an informational text. So one of the things that you can focus on is to prepare them on, again, as I've said, word level and text organization. We need to help our students to approximate how the information that they're going to listen to was approximated. In fact, the skills of reading and the skills of reading comprehension is similar to the skills of listening comprehension. The difference is that the mode of delivery. Parehas lang po yun ang mga skills na yun. Nag-iiba lang po talaga ang pag-deliver natin. It's the same selection. The reading selection can be delivered through listening. Correct? Nonetheless, it's the same activity. Similar strategy that we can apply to our students. Thank you very much.
Thank you po. Next po is from Miss Rosemary Amparado. What is the ideal length of podcasts that teachers can use as a springboard for listening test?
Excuse me again, the length of the podcast.
Yes po. The teachers can use for their listening po.
Well, there's no such thing as enough time for them to listen, but I'm suggesting that especially for preparing our students to actually comprehend this listening activity or the comprehension or reading activity, it is important for us to have 2 to 3 uh, uh, times of listening to the selection. Mas mahirap kasi pag listening kasi echoic siya, talagang listening. Wala siya mga visual supports that would help our students. And unless it's a podcast plus a PowerPoint presentation, a combination of both, as I've discussed yesterday on facilitating memory skills, if we can combine together echoic, and then the iconic, may nakikita sila, tapos may naririnig sila, na-combine mo sila, then mas mataas ang level ng pag-intindi. Pero kung talagang pure echoic or listening lang talaga, you have to facilitate recurring activity of listening to the activity. So first listening of the activity should be general information, perhaps, and then the second information would be specific information that they need to listen to, and then the last one would be, probably looking at evaluative whether the answers that they taken down notes on the second listening were correct based on the second listening of the selection. So it is important that in listening that we have ample time for students to listen to, not just once. Remember, it's a myth that once is enough. It has to be at least 2 to 3 times, especially on listening activity. Thank you.
Okay po, Brother Ricky, for
Wait.
our last...
Sorry. Additional to the listening activity also is we need to approximate enough. If the teachers are the one delivering the listening text, it is very important for us to approximate the fluency level of the grade level we are delivering it to our students. So you may want to check out. You may want to Google it, but I definitely know that you already have been trained during your undergraduate years when you took education or during your CPD trainings that there's a certain fluency level for a particular grade level or group of clusters of students. So the way we're going to read aloud as a listening text to our students, certain selections should be appropriate to the fluency level of our students, not your fluency level. Sometimes your fluency level is not appropriate in orally reading selection, not appropriate for our students. So we want to go back to my session on read aloud activity and storytelling. I somehow modeled encompassingly how certain fluency affects listening text or the development of listening comprehension materials for our students. Thank you.
Okay, po, Brother Ricky, for our last question this morning is from Mr. Alex Abelar.
Yes.
Any tips for both students and teachers in discriminating facts, propaganda, and opinion, especially in these times of fake news, misinformation, and disinformation?
You know what? A while ago, when I was talking about distinguishing fact from opinion as one of the techniques, I know that some of you will be asking, how is it actually done? How do we identify propaganda? And that's why we will probably have another training on that, probably if not next week, because next week I'm thinking of remediation and correction of comprehension strategies, of comprehension skills of students. Probably on the 3rd week of August, we'll be looking at that. But it is really important for us how we teach our students critical thinking skills and evaluative thinking skills, especially of identifying, distinguishing fact from opinion, and identifying propagandas using, especially at home, where they are now bombarded with digital technology-based information via the tri-media. I think one of the things that we can do is, again, it still is the same as any other skill for that matter. It is very important for us to teach our students skill by skill. But remember, when we now delve into opinion, helping our students specific skills on distinguishing fact from opinion, we are now delving into grammar. Kasi papasok po doon ang identifying qualifiers, okay, and sentence organization and sentence sentence structures. So pag pumasok na tayo dun kasi, it will be another topic. But how we teach our students distinguishing fact from opinion is teaching them sentence structures, okay, functions of sentences. So not just structure of sentences, but also functions of sentences. And by the functions of sentences, we now afterwards teach our students words that pertain or emotive language or emotive words that would signal opinion. So we call them as qualifiers. So we now introduce the rules on using qualifiers to create opinions or fact-based opinions. Kasi hindi lang opinion yan. Pero tayo sinasabi na false statement of fact, and we also have true statement of fact, and we have opinion-based, fact-based opinion, and we have what we call as non-fact-based opinion. So may mga subcategories pa yon. So kailangan pasukan po ng language yun. And then on propaganda again, tuturuan ng mga bata to identify certain statements that pertain to a certain appeal. So papasok ulit po dun sinasabi natin na language learning for our students. At this point po, thank you for asking a question because you have given me an idea, a whole new idea of other topics that we can provide you with. So wait for it. We will definitely provide you with a training on helping students evaluate information through distinguishing fact and opinion and propagandas. What a beautiful topic he just provided us that we can present through our FB Live and webinars. Thank you very much, sir.
Okay, thank you so much, Brother Ricky. That's all the question we have for now. And of course, before we finally end the session, I would like to ask you, Brother Ricky, for your last reminders to our viewers for this morning.
Well, definitely, I always have last reminders and last statements for all of us to remember. Just, additional takeaways for you guys. Conclusion and implications. So we'll try to tie loose ends and accepting challenges and teaching comprehension of informational text. So these are just challenges for you, okay? We need to be reminded that we, teachers, must be skilled readers to begin with in order for us to explicitly teach our learners to comprehend informational text. So I always go back to the primordial mantra of teachers. Primordial mantra of teachers mean we cannot teach what we do not have. We teach how to comprehend informational text because that's how we do it and that's how we were taught it. Now, if we were successfully wrongly taught by our previous teachers how to attack informational text, and that's how we will be teaching our students to deal with informational text. So we need to understand better ways, easy ways, and explicit ways how we can improve our comprehension skills for informational text in order for us to help our students. Because if we are guiding our students to comprehend informational text, that means we can also effectively and efficiently comprehend informational text. You cannot if you do not know how it's done, it's like the saying, a blind leading a blind. All right. And then finally, we have directly, explicitly teaching reading means, okay, I've been mentioning directly and explicit teaching reading means imparting new information to students through meaningful teacher-student interactions and teacher guidance of student learning. Now, I know that, especially right now, that the president already explicitly mentioned in his sonnet that he will not encourage, or he's not promoting face-to-face interaction between teachers and students unless that the school can provide safety measures, strict safety measures for face-to-face interaction of teachers and students. But the point here is that we have to create the materials in such a way that it facilitates and guidance for students to actually attack the material. Hindi pwedeng ilalagay mo lang sa material mo, read the selection below. Aba, paano? Ang tanong nga dun sa bata, paano ko ito atakihin? Ano bang dapat basahin ko dito? Anong impormasyon ang dapat intindihin? Okay, so organize the information in such a way that it facilitates the actual understanding, extraction of information text, thereby helping our students at home without the presence of the teacher go through the step-by-step process of extracting and understanding informational text. And one of the challenges there is that we can also probably enlist the help of our parents. And I think it's high time for for educators to include parents in the educational process. I know that a lot of parents out there may have their own misconceptions of how informational texts are understood. Some of them, oh, basahin mo lang yung, kung libre ka, o gawin mo lang dyan, basahin mo lang yung katapusan. Yun, maintindihan mo na lahat. Well, it could facilitate, but cannot be just the only technique for attacking informational text or for the whole book. Okay, medyo mahirap po yun. Kung it worked for the parents, it may not work for the kids. My point here is that the more strategies and techniques we can provide our students, the better it is for our students to choose which of these techniques and strategies would work for them individually. All right? It is still important for us teachers to help our students be selective on what strategies presented to them by the teachers through the materials, and choose which one is most appropriate for their own styles and which is more effective for them. With that being said, thank you very much. I know we have a short time, but I just focus on the skills of teaching informational text. And if you want to know more about how about narrative text, I already have a session in that last week. I have a session on teaching narrative text, and we want to review that. But I just give you, I know that by giving this topic to you, there are more specific questions you would like to ask. Please do not hesitate to suggest more specific topics in the comments below, so that the team of the Educational Service of Vibal Group can come up with support webinars later on, so that these questions will be addressed and help you become better equipped teachers, especially now with the pandemic. Well, I think it's going to last a bit longer until probably the middle or the early quarters of next year. With that, I hope to see you again this evening at 7 o'clock to 8 o'clock about transitioning what we have discussed today to comprehending selections across subject areas. Thank you very much, and hope to see you again this evening. Good day.
There we have it. So in behalf of Vibal Group Incorporated, I would like to thank you, Brother Ricky, for always giving us a very comprehensive and insightful learning session. It is really an honor to have you with us this morning. And just like what Brother Ricky mentioned a while ago, I hope to see you again this afternoon with our webinar series in YouTube, and another session with Brother Ricky for our Learn at Home series at 7 p.m. tonight. And to all our Kabibal viewers, all thanks to you for your continuous patronage to our Dirty Learning session. Muli maraming salamat at have a nice day to all of you. See you again later. Goodbye po.
Bye.